What's up, it's Aaron Page. I'm back with another video for you guys today. Okay, so I saw this video while I was driving. It's a video by Candace Owens. She was interviewing this lady who used to be in the corn industry. Okay, y'all know what I'm trying to say. I don't want to get demonetized by YouTube, but I've been watching a lot of Candace Owens lately, and this interview took me by surprise. This lady right here was deep into it. We don't necessarily think about the details that go into doing this kind of work, right? And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about that after the video. I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and watch the video real quick. It's like a 10-minute video. It's really inspiring and it is gonna help you, okay? Especially if you are someone who watches or have watched it or who have been addicted to it before. It's gonna help you. So let's go ahead and jump into this video real quick, okay? Let's jump into it real quick.
Well, I have spoken to people that have been in the porn industry before, and one thing that they pointed to me, which I just think that if people know this, I don't see how any person in good conscience could consume porn, is how high the suicide rates are for women in the industry.
Yeah.
And how drugged a lot of these women are to give themselves the confidence to be able to do what they are doing.
Yeah.
And how drugged they are after they do these scenes to be able to try to numb the pain of realizing what they have just done or what they have contributed to. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in 2018, there was like back-to-back suicides. I mean, it was every month. I think it was like 5 or 6 months in a row, somebody was dying. I have probably 15 friends that have died to either suicide or drug overdose.
Crazy.
I just lost somebody that I was very close to last year. There's a very high death rate in the porn industry. And as far as drugs, I mean, I was one of those drug addicts. I had left the industry at one point at my 3.5-year mark because I was withdrawing from heroin.
Oh.
And that's when
crazy.
I ended up meeting a pimp and he got me back into the industry for another 3 or
So talk about when you became a drug addict. So you're in the industry for 3 years. You left because of your addiction. When was the first time that you did heroin and what gave you that impulse?
Okay, so, heroin, I mean, there were other drugs that led up to that. So I was on
like
set.
that.
I was new in the entertainment or in the adult industry. And I'm 105 pounds, 5'1". I'm not overweight, but a director tells me, you're fat, you need to lose weight. And in high school, although I'd never been a pot smoker, I did try Coke a few times. And so I knew that it would make me not eat. So I asked one of the models, hey, I mean, apparently I'm fat and I need to lose weight. Is there, do you have access to any cocaine? And she was very suspicious as to why I was asking her. I'm like, no, I really do just want to buy cocaine. And so she ended up getting me some. And then from there, I just kind of got hooked and I started using it every day. And then I started dating a guy that introduced me to the Norcos, which are like Vicodin. They're for pain medication. From there, it went to Oxycontins. And then from Oxycontin, there was a girl that I was buying Oxycontins from that said, have you ever chased the dragon? And I'm like, what does that mean? And I thought she was talking about something in porn. And she's like, come over and I'll show you. So I hung out with her and she pulled out this piece of foil, put a piece of black tar with it was like a plastic, where you put your tampons in?
Yeah.
It was like a plastic from that.
Applicator.
An applicator, thank you. And she just started smoking heroin in front of me and she's like, it's better than Oxy. So I tried it and used that for many months before I decided that, you know what, I can't take this anymore. I had called my grandma and told her, hey, if you don't come get me, I honestly think I'm going to commit suicide because I can't take this life anymore.
That's sad.
Wow. So you became a heroin
Very
abuser.
sad.
Started with Oxycontin, cocaine, and then it leads to needing something stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, were you taking these drugs before scenes, after scenes, between scenes?
I lived on drugs because what happens when you become addicted is your body goes through intense withdrawals. So if you don't feed it what it needs, you're going to lose control of your bowels, your legs, everything's going to hurt. You're going to be in intense pain, far worse than the flu. You just feel awful. So I was on them every day. When I was down to my last 10 to 15 pills, I'm like, I need to call the dealer because if they don't have them, I need to figure it out. It was a vicious cycle of I'd get paid from porn, but then I'd have to go and chase the drug dealer. My net worth was said to be like, I don't know, $3.4 million by the time I left the business.
Wow.
I left that industry with my last paycheck, $1,500. That was it.
You're making money and then you're spending the money to get drugs.
That's crazy.
Wow. And I only know one person personally that's ever been addicted to heroin, what I've known from way back, from middle school. And I remember seeing her as she got clean. And when she described to me in detail what the withdrawals were like to get off of heroin, she just said it was like dying.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
just, it's like dying. Every piece of your body is just,
It's facts.
She was,
Real quick. So, and I strongly believe this is exactly why God maps out the things that he wants us to do and the things that he tells us to stay away from. Because when you're chasing money, you will do a lot of things that will cause you to get into situations that you don't want to be in, right? So she's chasing money, so she's working, in this industry. But to be in this industry, she has to kind of block the stuff in the back of her head and give her the confidence to be able to do this kind of stuff day in and day out. And so she gets into drugs. But those drugs are now forcing her to keep spending money. And she, like she said, she's chasing the dealer, trying to get more and more because now she's becoming addicted. And then you always start off with the small stuff and it always grows into the bigger, stronger drug. It just is, that is the cycle. It's a vicious cycle. But the beginning is like us not diving into a strong desire for money so much that we start doing things that we know we shouldn't do. We start doing things that we know is going to end up hurting us in the end. And so that is the cycle that she's explaining. Like it starts from the lust of money and it gets worse and worse as it goes along.
what the withdrawals were like to get off of heroin. She just said it was like dying.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
just, it's like dying. Every piece of your body is just, she was, in the hospital, and she said you can't even describe that sort of pain.
It's awful.
And yet you were willing to go through that pain. You call your grandmother and you say, come get me. And did she come get you?
She did. She drove up to Los Angeles, moved me in with her, into her home in San Diego. And I did get help from a doctor. I went to a doctor, got on what was called Suboxone to kind of help alleviate the withdrawal a little bit, but it was still pretty bad.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Why didn't you call your mother or your father?
You know what? I, at that time, had a very, very hindered relationship with my mom. Mm-hmm. She and I have a great relationship now, but she was the cause of a lot of the voids that I had in life,
Okay. Okay, so your grandmother comes to the rescue. Mm-hmm. And how long did you spend with her?
I was with her for maybe 3 to 5 months before I met a guy that I started dating. He was in a motorcycle gang. I had moved in with him. He got stabbed to death in front of me. And then from there, I had nowhere to live. And the pimp, which was his friend, comes and kind of is like, oh, well, I'll put you in a hotel for a few days. And he's giving me meth. And, because at this point I started using crystal meth.
And did you get clean while you were with your grandmother?
I did.
Sort of.
Yeah, but it was a very short stint of being clean. Like it didn't last long, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you fell right back in. Mm-hmm. You watch your ex-boyfriend get stabbed to death. Mm-hmm. His friend, he's the pimp, says, hey, I'll take care of you. You need some more place to stay. And now he's supplying you with drugs.
Yep.
Methamphetamine.
Yes.
Totally different drug from heroin.
Totally different, yeah. This one gets you wired. So I start hearing voices. So he ends up taking me to a mental institution. I get clean there for a few days. And then he brings me to his apartment. He was actually a believer, a backslidden believer. So he introduces me to the Bible and takes me and gets me baptized.
This is the same person that gave you the meth. Mm-hmm. And he is a pimp.
Yes.
This is where it gets crazy at, okay? This guy that starts giving her these drugs, he ends up telling her about the Bible. And I mean, thank God he did, because I know that God has the power to work through anybody, but come on, bro. You are giving her drugs, trying to pimp her out, and you're telling her about the Bible. This is the problem with Christians these days. I mean, they're not real Christians. They're not legitimate followers of Christ. They just say they are, but they live the exact opposite life of a Christian. But then you got people in the streets that are not Christians. You got other fake religions right, that see us and they see these type of people, these drug dealing, getting girls to work on the street for them type Christians, and they automatically say that cannot be real. It must be false because there is no impact of Christ on your life. We can see that you are worse than us. You're not even the same as us, or you don't even commit sins. Like, you are doing the most abominable work. That's what we got to stop doing that, man. We got to stop trying to live life like everybody else. We got to live life according to how Christ wanted us to live it. And so that's just crazy, bro. How are you a Christian and you're doing this to this woman? How? You're not a Christian. You got this label, but it's not who you are.
Believer, so he introduces me to the Bible and takes me and gets me baptized.
This is the same person that gave
is
you
the
the
pimp.
meth, and he is a pimp,
Yes.
but he's also a believer. And after you go into a mental institution, he says, actually, by the way, I forgot to mention that aside from being a pimp and aside from supplying you with drugs, I
crazy,
also
bro.
am a believer.
Yeah, because
That's
he was
crazy.
a meth addict at one point and found God, and that's how God healed him. But then he ended up going into this line of work, if you want to call it
That's
that.
wild,
Not sure how God
bro.
Yeah.
healed him, but he's also supplying
you're right.
methamphetamine. He sounds like a conflicted Christian.
Very much so.
Which
Very
is,
much so.
you know, that's not to make fun of him. It's just to point to the fact
No, it's
that,
true.
you know, he clearly was still
It's true.
struggling himself. But
So after I get
he tells
clean-
you about Christ.
Yeah. So, So after I get clean and I kind of have like just almost like a new attitude because I'm reading the Bible every day, but I don't really understand it. He starts to explain to me that, Jesus loves prostitutes because of Mary Magdalene, and very twisting the scripture.
Bruh, come on, man. Come on, bro. Jesus, really? Is that what we're doing, bro? Come on. Hey, look, he ain't the only one. I know a lot of people that take scripture and try to apply it to their lives so that they can justify sin. I know a lot of people.
And then from there,
I used to be one of them.
he's like, I just think it's time. I think that it's time for you to get back into the porn industry. And, and I'm just like I knew that he was a pimp, but because men were my weakness and I had grown attracted to him at that point. And I thought like, oh no, like he even gave me a ring, proposed to me, all of this. So I'm thinking like, I thought we were in love. Like I was very naive. Like, why would you put me back into, I don't know. I let him take advantage of me. I didn't know. I was vulnerable at that time in my life.
And how old were you at this time?
21.
So young.
Yeah.
So young.
21.
Yep.
All of this has happened. You've seen a lot of life up to this
crazy,
point.
man.
Absolutely.
And now you think you're in love, and he says, Jesus loved prostitutes. And I think it's time for you to go back to the porn industry.
Exactly.
And you
I go back.
went back.
I told him, I said, me thinking that we're in love, like, hey, if I go back to the industry, we're not going to last. And he's like, oh yeah, we're going to be together forever. So 3 years later, I had an encounter. I actually had an encounter with God, and I just felt like,
That's
you know what,
what's
I
up.
need to leave this guy. And so he'd been taking all my money for 3 years, but I prepared myself. I stashed money from an overnight escorting gig that I did.
Wow.
And I think it was in Miami. And he found out about the money that I stashed, took it. I was crazy, called 911, threatened to turn him in, and he gave me the money, and I ended up getting away from him. And that time, it was actually with the help of my mom.
Really? So did you call her in
I did.
a desperate moment?
In a desperate moment, yeah.
And
she
what
was there
did
for
you
me.
say to her?
I told her, Mom, I need to get away from this guy. I said, he's no good for me. I'm sure you know that. And I really need your help.
Wow. And what did she do?
She showed up. She lived about 15 minutes away, and she was there for me.
Man, if that didn't inspire you, I don't know what will. Look, I know a lot of us men, especially, have had these addictions, and it is what it is. Okay, yes, it's shameful, but come on, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. We've had these addictions. If you are still struggling with this, it will help you to think about the people that you're watching. Think about what they actually go through in life. It's not glamorous, okay? Trust me. A lot of people want to make it seem like it's glamorous, but it's actually not. And like she said, on top of that, even to have the confidence to do this type of stuff, a lot of those women have to take a lot of drugs and they have to shift their minds to be able to do it. So for me, that was just like, man, look, after watching stuff like that, like I can't go to that. You know what I'm saying? I can't go to that because I know there is so much demonic activities that is involved in this stuff. So much. So hopefully you like this video. Okay. If you're new to the channel and you like what you saw, I appreciate you watching. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss another video. My name is Aaron Page. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out.